We're going to get a chance to take a look at that Plunder Patrol deck out of this weekend's YCS, and we actually have what we can put together for the top 32 breakdown. Don't be like 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Now, everything that I've seen be put together on the internet, this is what we have for the top 32 breakdown. We are missing 2 deck lists, but we've already seen what the top 8 breakdown was. We covered that in the video on Monday morning, but here it is Wednesday evening here. I figured we go ahead and kind of dig back into this to kind of give you that feel for the larger spread. So you had 9 Naturia being your largest represented deck. Yeah, a lot of people, I keep saying this, but conversion turnover rate, Naturia is the most played deck, and a lot of people do equate that to being the better deck in the room, because if more people are choosing to play it, they might not necessarily apply because it doesn't always win out, but that's the mentality that a lot of players are having right now. We also had 4 Sprite in the top cut, which is kind of interesting in terms of conversion rate. Like I said, the deck won the event, but I do think it did take people time to kind of figure this out. We also had 4 Naturia Runic, or at least Naturia combination something here, but I found that very interesting. We also had 2 Eldritch players here, so Eldritch actually kind of stepping back up into the format here. Who would have guessed once Bysteals kind of went dormant, that'd be the case. You have the legendary Salamangreat player. You also have Plunder Patrol, which was the Runic variant of the deck. You also had Labyrinth, Flonderies, Sun Avalon, Branded, Marincess, Dragonlink, Traptrix, Sword Soul, and Tyr. And then you had 2 unknowns. But when you're looking at this pie chart and you're like, that is by far, I think, one of the most diverse YCS top cuts that I have actually had the chance to see in a very long, actually, might be one of the most diverse top cuts I think I've ever seen in the game's history at this point. And this is why, like, a diverse format looks really good, because players can play anything that they want, and they can actually, here's the word for it, they can actually be successful. You don't have to stick to the norms of playing one deck. Strange. Let's pass on over to these other top deck lists. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the Naturia Runic deck out of top 32 here, and yes, DB is still down. I know, I've already heard the infinite cries from the community, but what's so special about this deck? I mean, the fact that you get access to this card right here. Naturia Beast is an awesome card. Also, I mean, Barkion on the back end of things for some trap protection is pretty good. I also see that we chose to play the 1 Kelbeck as basically an interruption, which is actually kind of cute. Also, I mean, getting some additional milling does kind of help, but you're going to just kind of start the loop of Naturia good stuff with this deck, you know, tucking back trees, tucking back breeze. It's actually, well, I mean, that's what you formally would do. Outside of that, I mean, you're just going to mill this off, and then start setting up and doing your thing. I miss having more of the Ishizu package for this deck, but it is evolved at this point. So we have 2 copies of Nibiru. You have your 1 Kelbeck with your triple copies of the Camellia, 1 copy of the little Sunflower, and triple copies of the little Mole Cricket. You have triple copies of the Talents. This card is so absurd. Imagine your opponent ashes this, you proceed to Talents, and then start winning the game. I have 1 Foolish Bro Goods. This is actually kind of an interesting inclusion in the deck. Nah, just kidding. It's to drop this good card. We also have 1 copy of the Golden Droplets, triple copies of Freezing Curses with your triple point. Also have triple copies of Naturia's Spring Breeze, your 1 Dispel. I still think of this card. I would love to play 2 of it, but you just never have room. We also have triple copies of Slumber, triple copies of the Pop, the Special Summon, the 1 copy of the Smiting Storm, your triple copies of Pop, Spell, and Trap. Only 2 Field Spell. This is a particular norm in this deck at this point. You have the triple Sacred Tree. Extra, you have the 1 Donner, 1 Dugaris, the 1 Exton, and your 1 Baguski, your 1 Naturia Beast, your 1 Stardust Charge, your 1 Coral Dragon, your 1 Barkion, your 1 Baron, your 1 Chengying, along with your 2 copies of Hugin, 1 good old Moonin, and then 2 Gary. And they got triple Ash, triple Ghost Sister, triple Kurikara, 1 Feather Duster, triple Evenly Matched, and 2 copies of Grave of the Super Ancient Organisms here, wrapping up this list. Next up here, we have our Marincess list, sporting off from Shannon Long. That's a name that you should be recognizing out of the many top cuts that we have seen here. That's 2 YCS tops that we have seen Shannon bring it home now with this, plus a top previously out of a regional weekend. That is 3 bangers back to back to back in this format, and that's what you like to see here. You like to see that players are having success with the decks that they enjoy. And I got asked the other day, how do you play against this deck? just know which part of the combo that they're in that you need to cut them off at, that you don't think that they have the extender. That's honestly the best thing, because the minute that this touches down, it's going to be pretty hard for you to out. So just gamma seal it. We have triple copies of Space Rock, with triple copies of the Blue Tang. We have 2 copies of Pascalis, with triple copies of the Spring Girl. We also have triple copies of the Seahorse, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and triple copies of the Moonlit Chill. We also have 2 copies of the Mandarin, triple copies of Effect Veiler. We also have triple copies of Cynet Mining, 2 copies of Dive, triple copies of Book of Eclipse with your 1 Battle Ocean. We also have triple Infinite Permanents, triple copies of The Wave. Down here in the extra deck, you have the 2 Sea Angel, you have the triple Blue Slug, you have 1 Crystal Heart with 1 Splash Mage, 1 Iria with 1 Coral, 2 Coral Anemone, 1 copy of the Coral Triangle, then you get the 1 Marbled Rock, your 1 copy of the Aqua Argonaut, your 1 Xelantis, and your 1 Bubble Reef. And then, of course, triple Ansia, triple Spooky Dogwood, your 2 Lightning Storm, your Feather Duster, your triple Droplet, and your triple copies of Evenly Matched here. Wrapping up, well, you guessed it, yet again, the overall amazing potential for this deck. This is so cool. Then we also have the amazing Runic package in Plunder Patrol. I'd only heard legends of this deck actually be functioning. When I initially saw this, quite a few people were like, there's no way that he actually played Runic cards. And I was like, I don't know about that. I've seen some strange things this format, but once again, you know, when an idea actually sparks, and I mean, this deck is kind of held together by this, plus, you know, a Kaiju package to interrupt anything that the opponent can effectively do. It's very interesting just to see how these engines can really go. Plus, I mean, people still don't know how to play around Plunder Patrol in the year, 2023? So we have 1 copy of the Sea Turtle. We have 1 copy of Radion with 1 copy of Kumamungus. We have triple copies of Whitebeard with 2 copies of Redbeard. We also have 2 copies of the Plunder Patrol Sea Guide, 2 copies of the Plunder Patrol Shipwright, and then we got 2 copies of Golden Hair. So that's your monster lineup. Pretty straightforward. We also have 2 Interrupted Kaiju Slumbers, triple copies of the Freezing Curse, triple copies of Best Search. We also have 1 Dispel, triple Slumby with your triple Pop the Spell Summoner, 1 Smiting Storm with your triple Destruction, 2 Fountain, which appears to be, once again, kind of the norm here. Also 1 Shipyard, 1 Booty, and triple copies of Rivalry here. Extra deck, you got, of course, the triple copies of the Captain, who's driving the ship. 2 copies of the Morik with 1 Coral Dragon. We have 1 Jord with 2 copies of the Brand. We also have triple copies of Hugin, 1 Gary, and 2 copies of the Lice. And then, of course, triple copies of Contact Z, your triple Denko Rekka, 2 copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, 1 more copy of Moonin, triple copies of Evenly, and triple copies of Dimensional Barrier here. Wrapping up, well, your Plunder Patrol good stuff. And that's honestly, I think, the best way to kind of say that for this deck is I do like what this deck is bringing to the table for sure. And then we also have the winning list for this event. I know quite a few people were like, hey, have you seen the winning sprite list? Yeah, I finally have seen it. It took a while for it to come out. That's information takes time for the community to be reached. And a lot of people tend to not realize that there is a human element to these sorts of things, but very interesting nonetheless. We have 1 copy of the Wandering Griffin Rider. We have triple copies of Aquamancer of the Sanctuary. So yes, we did play the Brave package. We have triple copies of Ash Blossom, triple copies of Sprite Jet with 1 Sprite Red. We also have triple Sprite Blue with 1 Carrot. We also have 1 Swappy Froggy, 2 copies of the Nimble Angler. We have triple copies of Nimble Beaver with 1 copy of Doopy Doop. We have 1 copy of the Tetsui Rat Newman, 2 copies of Rite of Armesia with 1 Talents. We have 1 Thrust, 1 Foolish Barrel. We have triple Starter with 1 copy of Smashers. We also have your 1 Journey of Destiny and your 1 Draco back. And then, of course, triple Imperm with triple Evenly Matched and 1 Double Cross. And you got 1 Rapidocus, 2 Sprind with 1 Cerberus, 1 Dahark with 1 Nightmare Phoenix. We also had the 1 Shadow Mosquito, 2 copies of Gigantic Sprite, 1 Onimaru, 1 Mannequin Cat with 1 Totally Awesome, 1 Downard, and of course 2 Zeus Machines. Then you got the triple Nibiru with your 1 Genzo Friend, 1 Red Resonator, 1 Feather Duster with 1 Book, triple Twin Twister with your 2 Ratigear. It may as well be evenly. We have 1 Trap Trick and 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier here. Wrapping up everything that I have seen that really catches my interest, partially out of the YCS. So what do you guys think about everything for this event? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.